Hey guys, welcome to another video from Historic Militaria. Today we are looking at some of the first bolos that were made by Mauser for their broom handles. And these are extremely early cone hammer variants. So these would have been made between about 1896 and 1898. These are obviously well before the real bolo, which the one that everyone associates with the Soviet Bolshevik Revolution, which took place in 1917. These came well before that and therefore really have no connection to that whatsoever. These are just smaller versions of full-size broom handles. As you can see, you have a short bolo type barrel with your banded front sight here. It's a standard front sight, but a full-size broom handle will not have the band in the front there. Other than that, the gun is very similar to a standard cone hammer of the time. You got your commercial U-proof, your typical full-size body 10-round internal magazine, your typical panel milling from the time, your safety, which is down for safe and up for fire, and your cone hammer, which, as you can see, that's why it's called a cone hammer. The concentric rings, and flip it over, you can see it forms a cone shape and that it projects out. Your sight is a standard Mauser 100 to 1,000 sight for 1,000 meters. You've got this really kind of interesting cursor here with a divot in it, which is not typical for a lot of guns. And then you've got your long extractor, your standard chamber markings right there. And then flip this guy over. You've got your bolt stop, which has lost most of its fire blue, which is numbered to the gun. Again, everything else is standard on it. Your full-size grips. That's the other difference with these. The grips remain full-size, whereas the true bolo from the 1920s actually had a smaller grip frame. So this is the only thing that's different about this is the barrel length is shorter. And then everything along here, and just a very standard gun. This one is actually cut for a shoulder stock, and again, it's in the 10,000 serial number range. So getting toward the end of cone hammer production, the first large ring hammers started showing up around 12 to 14,000. And after that, the cone hammer was phased out of production in favor of the large ring hammer, which I have done videos on. And it's the difference being this was milled out and it was just a large ring instead of a cone hammer. The original early large ring hammers actually maintain a whole bunch of features of cone hammer because Mauser liked to use up every part they had, and kind of if they had something that would work, they would use it. So you'll find cone hammer parts on a large ring hammer, you'll find large ring hammer parts on a cone hammer, sort of at that transitional stage as they were using up all their pieces and parts. The other interesting thing is this guy, which is also a shorter gun, but it is sort of a medium bolo, if you will. Again, this is a cone hammer, so between about 1896 and about 1898. All your standard everything, standard grip, standard size grip. But this one was never made with a rear tangent sight. It just has this notch rear sight, which is very simple and sort of says, hey, look, we know this is a shorter barrel. It's going to be for more close-in shooting. We're not going to give you a 1,000-yard tangent sight. You've got your long factory extractor, same chamber marking, your front banded barrel here, which is just like the other one, but we'll put these together. without touching them, you can see the barrel is substantially shorter on the first one we looked at versus the second one. And a full-size broom handle would be longer than even this guy. And again, this one is in the 10,000 serial number range, within a couple hundred guns of the other one. So it just kind of shows that Mauser was experimenting with different size broom handles at the time. This one is, of course, cut for a shoulder stock. Some of these smaller cone hammers are not cut for shoulder stocks, so they were never made for one. Certainly a lot of 6-shot broom handles were never cut for a shoulder stock, but otherwise this is a very, very standard gun. You've got your Ulm proof mark on both of them, which is just a German proof house that would proof the guns. Nothing amazing there. They stopped using that in about 1905. And again, remember, on cone hammers, you're not going to have your Mauser marking on either side. It was just left blank. The only Mauser identification was up here on top of the chamber. But just a couple of interesting guns from the time period to show that Mauser was in fact thinking of the Bolo size guns and what would really work and sell. You did see Bolos being made from the time of cone hammers all the way up basically through near the end of production. I think the last Bolos I've seen were in the late 700,000 serial number range. So well into the 1930s they were being made. They were sort of sporadic at first, but toward the end they made up a large percentage of the population of broom handles made. Certainly in the 1920s, lots and lots of Bolos were made, tens of thousands as a matter of fact, and that's where most that you see today fall in, probably a 400 to 700,000 serial number range. You'll find a lot of those Bolos are made. Again, these are just a couple of interesting early ones that you don't see very often, and I was lucky enough to be able to do a video on. If you enjoy what you're seeing, like and subscribe, and we will do more videos on firearms, militaria, ordnance, and really anything that we can get our hands on. Thanks for watching.